Heischen bivracha, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niya b'dvareh. L'chaim, good Yom Tov to us, good Yom Tov to Klal Yisrael, good Yom Tov to the whole world, and Mazel Tov for the great and special day of Yud Alef Nissan. L'chaim. This time we'll start with a story just to explain a little bit the greatness of the day of Yud Alef Nissan. Besides what's obvious, there was a grandson of the Alter Rebbe who took very to heart the stalkas of the Alter Rebbe. He had been very close to the Alter Rebbe, and after the Alter Rebbe was nostalgic, it broke him very much. So he took upon himself to fast every year on Chai Elul, the Alter Rebbe's birthday. Until one year, the Mittler Rebbe, who was his uncle, called him over, and the Mittler Rebbe told him and started explaining to him what happens in the Eilam Yisrael by the birthday of a tzaddik, and especially of a neshama klalis. And he described to him how the neshamas in Gan Eden are sitting there, and at the head of the table is sitting the one whose birthday it is, and all of the other neshamas of all the tzaddikim and all the neshamas klalius of all the generations, they're all sitting together with him. And they're celebrating the special day that the neshama klalis came into the world in order to bring the light for Klal Yisrael. And he continued to say that based on what it says in the Holy Zohar, that bepalgus leilya at midnight asa kuchebrichu lishtasha im nishmasa ditzadikaya. At midnight, the Eibishter himself comes to be mishtashea, to celebrate, to fabreng with the neshamis of the tzaddikim. Can you imagine at midnight, by this special time of the neshama of the birthday of a tzaddik, what happens in Gan Eden at that time? Now we can imagine in our own lives what it means, the birthday of the neshama klalis of the final generation of Galus, which is the first generation of the Gula. The birthday of the neshama klalis whom the Eibishter destined even before the creation of the world, when there was Ruach Elokim merachefes el pnei hamayim, and Chazal tell us, Zeh Ruchai shel Melech HaMashiach, already from the beginning of time, and this special occasion, and every year it's renewed, the idea of this special day when this holy neshama came into this world, in order to illuminate the world with the light of Torah, and to illuminate the world with the light of Geula and Gili Elokus. How powerful is this day, and how much we have to realize to use out every moment of this day for increasing in Torah and Tefillah and Tzedakah and Chassidische Verbrengings, be'avas achim, together, in order, because the brachas and the ashpais that it brings down, there's something that the Frierdiker Rebbe writes in his Reshimas, that the Frierdiker Rebbe writes that before that there was a big zera, a big decree on Klal Yisrael, and before the Yom Tov of Pesach in the year Tov Reish Samach Beis, it was nizbatel in a miraculous way. Before Pesach means a few days before Pesach, which is Yud Alef Nissan. It's quite obvious of what's saying over here, that the very first time the neshama of the Rebbe came to this world, it already was mevatel. It got rid of a terrible decree on the Jewish people. How much more so now that we'll say l'chaim together, a special l'chaim, and as we always say, Chassidische Verbrenging can accomplish what Malach Michal cannot accomplish. That this special l'chaim is going to be that it should be bring down all the brachas for every single person. B'tei v'nire v'nigle, in an open and revealed way, the Rebbe brings down brachas. And the Rebbe brings down the most amazing brachas in open and revealed ways, starting begashmias, and from gashmias it goes beruchnias for everyone and everything they need. Bebani chayu mezeine bechulam revicha. Yerefuos, gules, yeshuos, and Mordechai Dov Ber Akayin Ben Chana should have a refuah shalema, and all those who need a refuah shalema, and all those who need brachas in every aspect of their lives. And the only most important thing is the one and only bracha, which is the Galus of Melech HaMashiach immediately, who will take us all out of Galus now. On Yud Alef Nissan, we'll fabreng with the Rebbe, and we'll continue this year on Pesach to bring the Karban Pesach in the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi. It should be also Lili Nishmas of my father-in-law Ephraim Ben Chaim. And it should be for all the brachas and for everyone whatever they need right now. L'chaim, l'chaim. I want to start off with something. When it comes to the Rebbe's birthday and the special Yom Tov, something to give us a little bit of an idea. The Rebbetzin Chana, in her writings, in her Zichronos, she writes two stories that happened in the Rebbe's youth. One story she writes is they were vacationing by the Black Sea, or whatever it was. They were in a vacation home, near the Black Sea. The Rebbe was at that time a young boy, a very young boy, I think 5 or 6 years old. I don't remember exactly. Maybe 7 or 8 years old. Al Kolpanim, and the Rebbetzin Chana was walking with the Rebbe with her young child, and suddenly she sees a big commotion that someone had a kid, an older kid, had taken a boat out, and the sea in that place was very rough, and he was drowning. And everyone's standing there and they're calling for help, whatever it is, no one knows what to do. And suddenly she hears that a young child jumped into the sea and pulled out the other child that was drowning at the risk of his own life. And he almost drowned himself as well as a result of that, and pulled out the other boy. And she looks around and she says, "Where's my little boy that was next to him?" And then she realized that it was the Rebbe that jumped in. There are those who say actually it's the Rebbe's cough. Strong cough that he had all the years. We know the strong cough that it came from that time in that cold sea. That's the one story. And the other story that Rebbetzin tells, there was a pogrom and they were all hiding in a storefront, wherever it was they were hiding, and they had to be very quiet. But there was little children there, babies, etc. And suddenly the Rebbe was a young child himself, was going around from one child, because the children are crying and screaming, etc. He went around from one child to the other. One child, he gives him a candy. Another child, he strokes his cheek, etc., etc. The idea of what it means, a Rebbe, a Nasi Hadoir. A Nasi Hadoir, he's the head of the entire Jewish people. And therefore, this is exactly what the Rebbe's entire life is, jumping into the sea regardless of his own safety, in order to schlep out, not only call to the one who's drowning and say, "Come, hold on," but jump in order to pull him out. And the same thing is to go deal with each child, each young child, according to their level. We are all the limbs of the Nasi Adair, of the Rosh, the head of the generation. And we have to know and realize that regardless where we are, even if we're in the deepest sea, even if we're in the most turbulent waters, the Rebbe not only tells us how to get out and helps us get out, the Rebbe comes with us to pull us out, to take us by the hand. We only have to hold on and realize we have a Rebbe who comes to each one of us according to our level to pull us out. But we have to hold on and be connected. And the way to be connected is also that we ourselves shouldn't care about our own issues, about what's happening in our own lives, about what it may do to us, not physically and not even spiritually. but give over everything in order to jump in and help and save another Jew that may be drowning in the waters, but do it in a way that we're dealing with him according to his level in order to help him. That concept is the concept also that we mentioned last week and that we have it this week again, the idea of mitzvah, that on one hand it's the highest thing, ein lemaylo mi'eneg. The letters eineg is the same letters as nega, ve'ein lemato minega. The lowest thing, when you reveal zois tiye toiras ha-mitzvah b'yom ta'arasai. Yoi means that we take that mitzvah, the darkness, and we transform the darkness into light, and that's what brings the purification. And how is that through Torah, and especially the Rebbe's Torah, learning the Rebbe's Torah, and limud amevili de maisa, fulfilling that it brings to actions and to achlatis tevas of how we do that, we transform even the greatest darkness into light. Now, one of the ways that this is done, and the main primary idea of how this is done, is the concept of realizing that, especially as the ones who merited, who have the great schus, and regardless of where we are and what we are, we're chassidim of the Rebbe. We learned in the Rebbe's meistis. We learned from the Rebbe, where the Rebbe's chassidim, where the Rebbe's students, where the Rebbe's children, and therefore we have to follow, and not only follow, but complete that idea of Ana Nasiv Malka, where a chassid knows my whole life is about one thing and one thing only, which is to do what the Eibusher wants in the world, to fulfill the purpose of creation, which is to bring Dira B'Tachtenim, to bring the revelation of Melech HaMashiach. And that's my whole life, nothing else exists. There's a story that the Rebbe told in different ways, in different occasions, and I'll say it a little bit in the nusach, not exactly the same words, but in a nusach that works for today. They tell the story of the difference between a Pelisher Chassid and a Chabad Chassid. Pelisher Chassidim are very great Jews who are following the path of the Baal Shem Tov, and they follow a tzaddik. And their path is that tzaddik b'munasa yichye al tikre yichye leichaya. The tzaddik works, the tzaddik learns, the tzaddik davens, and the tzaddik, because of his great avas Yisrael, sustains his chassidim, gives life to his chassidim. But basically the idea is that the purpose of the tzaddik is for the chassid. So the chassid, the person who's connected to the tzaddik, the question is also, what am I going to get out of it? What am I going to get out of it begashmis? What kind of brachas will I get? What am I going to get out of it beruchni, spiritually? What kind of connection? What kind of high levels will I receive? Will I reach as a result? And like the famous joke they tell about the Breslover Bacher who meets a Lubavitcher Bacher, and the Lubavitcher Bacher asks the Breslover Bacher, "What's the long pace that you have?" And he says, because Rabbi Nachman said that if I say the Tikkun Klali by his kever Uman, then he'll pull me out of Gehenim with my payas. And he says, he turns to the Lubavitcher Bacher, "Why don't you have payas?" So he says, "I'm going to tell you what's going to happen when I come over there of Yener Welt, and when they send me to that place." He says, "The Rebbe is going to give me $1 and tell me good luck, Hatzlacha Rabba, on your shlichus, and good luck in fulfilling your mission." The Chabad Chassid, his life is about his mission. It's not what I can get out of my Rebbe, it's how can I fulfill what the Rebbe wants from me. And that's actually an interesting thing, that Yud Alef Nissan Tavshin Yud Alef, the first year of the Rebbe's Nesias, Yud Shvat, was a mere 3 months earlier. And the Rebbe came into the Zal, and the Rebbe said, "I'm going to the oil, and I want whoever is going to accept that they will listen and do what they're told. They should put down their name and their mother's name on the paper, and I'll bring it to the oil." And the Rebbe says, it's a serious thing, it's not a game. I'm not going to demand that you should go up to the sky. I'm not going to demand that you should be able to, you should do impossible things. But if you say you're going to do what you're told, you have to do what you're told. Today, Yud Alef Nissan is a special day of connection. We connect to the Rebbe not just to the to the revelation of what it means to be a Rebbe, which that's on Yud Shvat, but rather to the essence of a Rebbe. That's what we connect to on Yud Alef Nissan. We connect to this essence of who we are. My whole essence is Rebbe, and there's nothing else. So anyway, the story goes of the Pelisher Chassid, that he goes to his Rebbe, and it's he asks his wife permission beforehand. He wants to go for the month of Tishrei or whatever it is. And his wife says, well, really, you should be home. I need you home, etc. But he says, you know what, I'm going to go to the Rebbe. We have 2 daughters that need a shidduch. And we need money. I'm going to ask for a bracha. You'll gain out of it also. She says, yeah, you know what, no problem. So she prepares for him some tzedel laderech. And he goes out on his way. He goes out on his way and he arrives in wherever it is, in the town where he's coming to his Rebbe. And comes Thursday night. Thursday night, he stays up a little bit later, but then he goes to sleep. And he wakes up in the morning Friday. He has a nice hot mikveh. The mikveh is hot. The Friday he goes and he takes a nap, and then he goes and helps in the house to prepare for Shabbos. And he brings a gift. And he comes and he goes to shul, and he comes early because he has time. And he sits there and he says Shir Hashirim, and he davens mincha with kavanah, and he's in a very uplifted mode. He comes home to the host and he eats the meal, and it's a good meal. And then he comes to the tish, and by the tish the Torah is short. The shirayim, the food is good because the Rebbetzin Kigel is also good. And there's a lot of nigunim, and there's excitement, and there's iseirus, and that's the way it goes through the entire month of upliftedness, and he's uplifted spiritually. And before he leaves, he goes into his Rebbe and he asks a bracha for Parnasa and for his daughters for Shidduchim. Now his Rebbe's a tzaddik, and of course it's fulfilled. He comes back home, his wife's happy. The next year he wants to go back to the Rebbe. She says for sure. She prepares for him kletzer mitaring, as they call it, which is in modern language tuna fish sandwiches, and everything's beautiful. He comes af jene Welt, he comes to the next world, and they ask him, "Nu, what did you do in this world?" And he says, "I was this and this chassid, and everything I came to the Rebbe and I ate the shirayim and I connected to him. I deserve Gan Eden." So he say to him, "What about Zipisa b'Merkava? Did you learn Pnimius HaTeira? Did you learn the secrets of Teira?" He says, "Listen, I learned Chassidish Sfarim, but we were taught that whenever it came to any words of Kabbalah or whatever, we stayed far away from it because that's for our Rebbe. But Tzadik b'Munasa Yechaya, he learns these things and he sustains me, he pulls me out." They say, "You're right, go to Gan Eden." Comes the Chabad Chassid, the Rebbe says. And to a little bit paraphrase the story, he goes to the Rebbe, and he comes Thursday night. It's time for a Fabrengen, and he sits there. First he wants to learn some Chassidus, because Thursday night, all year he's busy with whatever it is, whether it's with his shlichus, with his business, whatever he's busy doing. And comes Thursday night, he wants to finally learn some Chassidus. But he opens up the Maimer, and the first Rosh Tevis, he gets confused and he's embarrassed to ask. So he's sitting there breaking his head over the Maimer, but he doesn't get much out of it. Finally, okay, he'll try and go to the Fabrengen. By the time he comes to the Fabrengen, it's already late into the Fabrengen. And he missed already the beginning part. Now it's only the later parts of the Fabrengens. But he's not going to leave a Fabrengen. He stays up all night with the Fabrengen. The next morning he's dead tired. The mikveh, union mikveh, by the time he gets there is quite cold and dirty. And he davens, he starts, by the Rebbe I have to daven, and he sits there. And he opens up his siddur, and Hoidu Lavaya, and he's Hoidu Lavaya, Vasfara Heidu Lavaya, Vervara Heidu Lavaya, I'm going to come Hoidu Lavaya, I have nothing to show. And he's trying to get there a few words of davening, and his Mivtzayim Chavrusa comes, "No, we got to go on Mivtzayim," so he has to rush at davening also, and he runs over there to Manhattan, and he sits, and he's falling asleep on the train, being Mavisedra, and then he comes, and the one guy, he comes to his office, Would you like, he's not in. The next guy like to put on tefillin. Sorry, I haven't had time. Next time, anyway, he finally manages one or two tefillin, but by the time he comes back, the siren is already ringing. It's time for Shabbos. And he comes, he runs late into shul, and the mikveh Fashtetzach is already also a dirty, cold mikveh. And by the time he gets to shul, it's late. And he's stuffed, and he's in a cramped place, and whatever. He's tired, and he's falling asleep in the middle of Shemini Esrei, in the middle of Ma'ariv, because he can't. He was up all night, and he was up all day, and finally he goes home, and he gets a little bit of sleep before the Shabbos Verbrengen, and comes Shabbos day, and he gets up to daven. It's weiter. He tries to learn a bit of Chassidus, the daven, and then finally comes the Verbrengen, but it's Tishrei time, and the place that he Yarshind, the Moirish, the one who Yarshind to him is here, and the one who Yarshind to him is here, so he doesn't have much of a place. He finally squeezes somewhere in a corner of a tile where he can't see anything and he can't hear anything, and he's standing there by the Verbrengen. He gets pushed very well, and by the time the Verbrengen is over, he has to listen to Chazara. He listens to Chazara, and then by that time, there's barely, if he's lucky, enough time to make Kiddush and to eat a kichel or something. And that was his Shabbos, that was his Gashmias. Ruchnius, he doesn't really get much what's going on, but he's around, he's by the Rebbe. It comes the end before he leaves, before he goes home, and he goes into Yechidus, and all he can think about is when will the Rebbe take his holy eyes off my Chazarish upon him. The whole time I heard at least the Chazar of the Mamarim, some points about a Lokos and thing. Gashmis is the furthest thing from his mind. He forgets to ask a bracha for the daughters who need shidduchim for the parnasa. He didn't ask the bracha. He didn't get the bracha. He comes back home, and the next year is as bad as the year before, begashmias. So when it comes time to go to the Rebbe again, his wife doesn't give him kletzer mitaring. She doesn't prepare any tuna fish sandwiches. On the contrary, he has to hide and run away because she says to him, instead of going to the Rebbe, might as well become a chazan at least for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and maybe at least he'll make some money that we should be able to do something with it. And versteht sich, this is his life. No gashmis, no ruchnis. He comes off jener Welt. And they look at him and they say, no, what do you do in this world? He says, I was a Chabad Chassid. He says, proudly a little bit. They say, you were a Chabad Chassid, you learned Chassidus? They say, but what do you mean? Why didn't you learn Chassidus? The Rebbe didn't send you, didn't say Mamarim. He says, not only the Rebbe said Mamarim, if I wasn't there, the Rebbe sent them to me in the mail. No, so what happens? So we can sich allein verstehen where he goes. So this is the difference of the person who has this world and the next world, and the person who doesn't have this world and the next world. But the Rebbe says, nevertheless, there's the idea called Yesiv Das, Yesiv Machiv. The more the pain is, both in Gashmis and in Ruchnius, at least when you have knowledge. Besser unser Ganeden, unser Gehenim bizer Ganeden. It's better to have a Gehenim where I know nothing, where I have nothing, not physically, not spiritually, but at least I know I'm connected to the essence. But that's the idea of a chassid, to know I'm connected to the essence, meaning it's not for me, it's not for my Gashmias, it's not for my Ruchnius, Anan Nasiv Malka, it's to do what the Rebbe wants, and to give myself over, both my physical and spiritual life, to help another Jew, whether physically or spiritually, to do everything, because that's what it's all about. That's what Etzem means. And in that way, we come to Yud Alef. Yud Alef is the one which is above 10. 10 is Giluyim. 10 is revelations. 10 is feeling. 10 is getting places. 11 means we're beyond that. 11 means the essence. There's 11 samemane aktedes, the 11 ingredients of the ktedes. And the ktedes is the only avodah in the Beis HaMikdash where there was something not kosher. The 11 has the power, because it's the essence, it has the power to transform darkness into light. And that is where we are as Chassidim. And again, we end off with the L'chaim. The main thing is that we should have that the darkness that we have. We should remember something very important, that we have to thank the Eibishter for the miracles that he's making. We have to recognize the miracles that the Eibishter is showing us. But never be enough, never be happy with these miracles, because that's not what we want. We want to have the revelation of Melech HaMashiach. We want to have the ultimate miracle. Miracles is Giluyim. We want to have the Etzem, and we're connected to Etzem. And we're going to have the Etzem and the Giluya Etzem tonight on Yud Alef Nissan. And Neichel Shom min Azvach min Apsachim L'chaim Gut Yom Tiv L'chaim Mazel Tov L'chaim. We should see this Galus Mashiach immediately. L'chaim.